Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boy Petey. So today we're talking about some of the rumors we've been hearing about, reading about on the web and the blogs and on YouTube. Things people are talking about Shang-Chi. That the Shang-Chi movie really is a retread of Mortal Kombat. Whoa, that's deep. I don't know if it's true.
You're surprised?
I am shocked. They're saying that actually that Marvel has been known to do this in the past. And one of the best examples of this was Civil War, which came at the same time around Batman v Superman. And also take a look at what they did. Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, those movies came out similar, not the same time, but they're female cast, women with superpowered women. So it's pretty interesting. And I guess you have that Marvel also, they did the Wonder Woman when they were doing the Black Panther, trying to both get different diverse groups at the same time. So it depends on how you're looking at it. But Marvel is definitely.
And the black person, their greeting is this, and Wonder Woman said.
But they clearly, as you can see, that the Marvel is taking a more strategic look at what's going on with their competitors and then jumping in afterwards. They had the chance to do a female-led movie. I think it was Black Widow, who's been pushing for it for a long time, and Feige passed on it several times. But when Wonder Woman was successful, all of a sudden Captain Marvel came up. So it's pretty interesting. But getting back to Shang-Chi, the very fact that they would rip off the key thing here is the tournament style of Shang-Chi, of Mortal Kombat. Shang-Chi in the comics was not a tournament style book. It was a regular comic, where he had to engage, villains, even his own father, in doing different things.
It was almost an espionage book. It was more like he was the same way, like sort of traveling around the same way Bruce Lee was in Enter the Dragon. Like someone would almost try to get him to search something like a detective, and then next thing you know, there's a tournament in there, but it led to more battles, like that sort of thing. And this is, can you describe what they were saying, like about factoring in with the rings also?
Right. So they're saying that the Mandarin is the one who's organizing this tournament, and that Shang-Chi is there to get the 10 rings, the 10 rings. And you're like, what? Which seems similar to what the in a battle in the tournament for Mortal Kombat. Can you speak on the Mortal Kombat aspect on that, Petey?
Well, I just think, with Mortal Kombat, that's been the premise of like all the movies. And slowly when they went to a web series and they use actual stars like Michael Jai White, Jerry Ryan, it was a good boost for Mortal Kombat, saying there's an audience out there. And then now we have a Mortal Kombat movie coming out, and Marvel and Disney, they've been shameless to say, you know what, there's a good chance that ours will, beat yours and meet us in court if you got to say something. They're just like, this is what we do, because it's like, someone else said I think on screen, I think on pitch meetings, they also talked about how even though people said that Spider-Man was being fixed by Disney and Marvel, they still have a scene where the girl is falling down the building. They still have him holding on to like this big dramatic, him holding a boat. So it's like one of those things where Marvel is regretfully, there's a video showing the Black Widow from the Avengers, saying like Mariah Carey being captured by these people from these foreign Russian guys, and her playing dumb in this scene.
Let me put you on hold. For you.
So, there's a lot of times, and I would say this, a lot of these movies have been done by getting these sizzle reels together, right? So they put together all the pieces of the movie that has some, from other pieces of other movies. But sometimes they don't use it as just a reference. They say, well, what you came up with is not as good as this scene. We want the scene, because you look at, there's a scene in, what's that thing? I always go to Inception. Now, Inception, at some point I connected to some movie, but ultimately this new and all this inventive stuff, right? These different worlds and this sort of thing, this dream sort of thing. But then there's a scene where then in the like a snow ski thing, and I'm just like, what is this? A Spy Who Loved Me? They pop in, they gotta go in, they got these guns, and it's like we turn into James Bond. So it's like one of those things where it felt like whatever was in the sizzle reel stayed in the movie. And some of those things where you're like, oh, this bit is too similar. And then ultimately movies borrow from movies all the time. And the saying in Hollywood is no one wants to be first, everyone wants to be second. Now with Marvel being the leader, there's no reason why you couldn't just try something new. And that's the harder part because Shang-Chi has a long history. It has a cult following that, at some point early on, X-Men had a cult following, the Legion of Superheroes, many things that were, like Punisher took 10 years before it became a hit at Marvel. You should try to make it different and make it's not too different because you don't want to go that far, but at least saying, let's try some things. They did that, we'll do something else. And it seems like Marvel is taking this and they're changing. The Mandarin, it doesn't do tournaments. The Mandarin tried to take over the world, and he wouldn't be sending the hero into this tournament like the hand guy in
Game of Death.
Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon. Yeah. So I was like, what the hell? I know. I have the exact same thing. I think that it takes away because what you're basically saying is that Asian movies are basically tournament movies, and that's what they're trying to do. I mean, what? I mean,
it's 93% Asian though. Like,
it always got to be. Is it going to be Ip Man? There's tons of other Asian movies that could be stories that come up, and they're not all just tournament style fighting. Come on, give me a break. So I'm just hoping that it's not cheapening the Shang-Chi character. I gotta say that they're doing things. I don't know if they're doing it more for the Western market, or they're basically saying, well, this is really popular out east, and so this is what we want to do. And possibly, look, I'm not saying, I don't know, I don't have the stats, I don't have the history. I'm just saying that from what we've seen of the history of the comic, it doesn't seem this is where the way it should go. But the business side, they may say, hey, you know what? Let's go with a proven formula. And it's worked for fighting in the past. So,
well, then that would almost say that they didn't want to do it because Mortal Kombat wasn't working. And then now that Mortal Kombat is greenlit again, and they have a video game, they had all this buzz on the web.
An animated movie.
They got all this buzz going, and they're like, we got something. This is what we were. I mean, they could have been planning it back when they initially said they were doing Marvel and they were doing the Marvel thing, because they did announce it. And this not the Mandarin part, but at least a tournament thing. And then if it came out in the early 2000s or somewhere after that, we would have been like, wow. But now it's just like, oh, come on. Like, you can't come up with anything else? It's like, no, this feels like they just some idea that they already had and they're just going to throw it out there. But it's like it's too late if they did this when they first did like Iron Man and all the early Marvel movies, then you would have been like, wow, they really pulled out all the stops. And now it's like, come on, we're going to have Mortal Kombat before that. And they're like, well, no, we don't know that there's an audience for, James Wan's the Mortal Kombat movie. It'll be like,
but they're probably going to do it a lot cheaper than what Shang-Chi is going to cost, because the Mortal Kombat movies that came out in the past were not that expensive. They weren't like $100 million films. Some of them made some money back, and I think they were like between under $50 million. Those movies were made for. I don't know if they're going to do the same thing now. I mean, James Wan's name is part of it, so it's very possible the budget is much bigger. But especially after hit with Aquaman. But I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough to say. I want best success to all of them, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of times Hollywood doesn't have an original concept. They just want to use what's going out there. And another thing too, they probably don't even read or even watch or even like some of the stuff that they're doing. Hey, they look at the numbers. Can this make money? And that's all we know. That's all they.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they possibly handed the producers the comic, and then they look at it like, what are we gonna do with this? Like, give us Mortal Kombat, give us some tournament stuff, give us Enter the Dragon, and then they're like, okay, but make sure you put in those characters. Can we fit in some of the Marvel characters? Maybe the Winter Soldier will come in and he could fight. Maybe he'll be a part. Huh?
This is going to be wild. I hope the rumors are not true. I hope, but you know what? The movie's coming out supposedly in the summer, Shang-Chi, of May of 2021. But Mortal Kombat's coming out in January of 2021. So we know. So there's another thing too. We know that this movie's not going to be a huge cost because a lot of hits don't come out in January, right? So that's a
Well, no,
possibility.
I mean, they had. I mean, obviously, so is it? Who's those guys? Kevin Hart has found the audience on there, made a big name. So
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's a specific budget.
compared to some, yes, but I'm saying that let's not. That's the thing. It turns into how much did your movie make compared to ours, and the issue is if with the Marvel backing, it would only be a failure that would cause this next one, like a diminished returns, to cause this one to fail. Since everyone probably be chomping at the bit for a Marvel movie, or who knows where at, they'd probably be all successful. The Marvel movie is still going to win on, hey, it made more money than Mortal Kombat. And it's like, that's not really what it's supposed to be. They're putting the Mortal Kombat people putting some time into it. They've let the property kind of like rest for a little while, and they're coming back, and they're kind of, I'm not sure what the basis is going to be, but at the same time, it's going to be like they're going to try to build up the fans back into it. And it's still something that's the tune is still known, it's still sung by, fans, and they have fun with it. So if that's the case, and they're still having fun with it, then we, the audience, can also go and say, you know what? But I think Marvel played the money game and say, well, we made so much more money. That doesn't mean you're still being second. And being the industry leader, you can do a totally new thing. Totally.
I agree with what you're saying, but now as I'm looking at now my big business hat, I started thinking, hey, this may be a possibility because look at what happened to two good movies that I thought that were under rated by the audience. Shazam, which I thought didn't do well. It was a superhero movie. It was fun. I think the problem was the marketing, and also it just got crowded out. And then you also have, I thought Harley Quinn was a good movie. I didn't see it as many of the negatives people have. Probably the name and the marketing did a bad job at it, or probably took too long to come out. But the same thing could have also happened in Mortal Kombat. DC's coming out with they're the one, not DC, Warner Brothers, the studio behind DC, and they're definitely backing it, but they're not going to be putting 200 millions like they would into a regular. That's not true. They didn't put $200 million in Shazam or in Harley Quinn. But the initial budget for the Mortal Kombat movie was around 40, 50 million. That was a couple years ago. So I'm not sure if they were able to stick to that figure or not. But like I said, I know yes, there are markets that, like the Underworld movies, they always come out in January and they do well for that particular market.
Underworld,
But if that's the market, the size that they're looking for, they may do well. But Marvel, because of their breadth and reach, when it comes out and their stamp of approval.
What do you mean it's in breadth? Explain that to me.
Breadth being that they will definitely get into more theaters, more acceptable theaters throughout the world. Because it's a known quantity. Mortal Kombat is a known quantity, but it's going to be probably treated. It could be treated as a niche film. Now, again, we have the director. What's his name? James Wan, who's done huge films. From horror until as well, like you said, Aquaman. So there's a lot of different variables playing in this and how it could turn out. You never knew this could be a huge hit, just like Joker was. That DC put it. Not DC, but Disney put Disney. Not Walt Disney. Warner Brothers puts a little bit of money into it, and it just blows up. Yeah. And you're right. It's been a little time since people have seen Mortal Kombat, and it's very familiar, especially with all the video game guys. They're older now. They're going to know, and their kids are going to see the new animated show. They're going to see the new live movie. I think they come out with a video game recently also. So there's a lot of stuff that they're doing to help develop the property. It's not coming out of the blue. You have the video game supporting the animated show movie, which is coming out, I think, next week or this week. And you also have
fun with the video game because they're bringing in different characters. I think they also did Spawn recently. They did something with him in the Mortal Kombat game, the video game. So, I mean, they've been pulling a lot of different things out, not just the standard, here's our characters. They've been having fun with it.
Yeah, and smart move. So, yeah, like I said, I initially thought this was such a bad idea, but as a fan of the comic,
Mortal Kombat was a bad idea?
No, the bad idea of following the format of Shang-Chi. But this may be a trailblazer for Marvel, where they're like, "Hey, this is what you see."
Oh, you still got your business hat on.
Big business hat, bro.
Take your hat off.
You know. So the big business hat. You know,
Says
of course,
it's a smart move to be like they can't sue us because we're the big guys. They can't sue us.
This is my comic book fan cap, where I'm like, damn, that's not a good idea. But big business is like, yo, come on, may not be a bad idea. So Kevin Feige, you the man.
You put the hat back. I didn't see you put the hat back. Lord.
Big business. So anything else, Petey?
I guess that's it. I just want them to blaze their own trail, like basically like something that Dame Dash would say. Why are you following the other man's thing? You know, it's like
Because it works. That's why.